We talk a lot about using AI tools to your benefit, but when it comes to creating content on your website, they can cost you a pretty penny. And what I want to talk about today is something that I see a lot with my clients because I do a lot of website SEO work for people in different businesses. And I've seen it firsthand. Businesses that rely too much on AI created content, like going into ChatGPT and saying, hey, write me a 500-word blog post, that sort of thing, can end up getting smacked by Google and losing all of their traffic and all their revenue. And yeah, those creating AI content can work. I'm not saying it can't work in short periods of time, but if you overly rely on that content to rank for very valuable keywords, you could cost yourself in the long term. So in today's video, I just want to walk you through a new tool that I started using and adopting into my work for AI detection. And we know that AI detection is something that's very important, and Google undoubtedly is doing it at the highest level on their end. And we've seen with all these different core algorithm updates that have come out, websites who produce too much generic AI generated content are getting smacked hard. So this was an article that came out here a couple weeks ago by Matt Woodward, very accomplished SEO. I'm signed up to his newsletter, and I read this article, and he kind of made no bones about it. He says AI generated content will get you penalized in 2026. And he lays out all this information that's very well researched. He does a ton of his own research, shows graphs. And this is, like I said, this is what we call the kind of the mountain effect, where you initially get that huge climb in traffic from AI generated content, and then boom, you get smacked right back down. And so this is something that he's trying to stress everyone to be very cognizant of. Any sort of page that means something to you, that you're trying to get organic traffic to visit, you have to be very, very, very wary about using AI. Now, that's not to say that you can't use AI for generating ideas or helping you with some keyword research. There's many MCP tools out there that can plug into LLMs like Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT, and they can give you keyword ranking information very quickly and make that whole process a lot easier. But when it comes to actually putting pen to paper and writing the content word for word, there's no substitute for having a human writer involved, or at the very least, a human editor who can jump in and rewrite certain sections in bulk as needed. So to give you an example on how this works, I just went to Google and I typed in a couple words in quotations. Now, what this is going to do, this is going to show me all of the results that include these exact words on the page. So my thinking here was to use a term that is heavily associated with AI writing. And the first one that came to mind was the word delve, or delve into. That's a very common AI generated word that you'd see in ChatGPT. So I pasted that up there, and then I also put the word plumbing just to have kind of an industry modifier. I don't know why I put plumbing. It could have been any sort of industry, but I wanted to basically get results that are going to show me specific industry related pages that are AI written. And so I clicked on this first result. It opened up to this, which is pretty wild. This is actually an invisible text situation, which is very bad, but it showed up in Google, so that's something. So all I did was I grabbed that text. I went over to Originality.ai. This is the tool that does AI detection. And I had it scan for AI content. And sure enough, likely AI, 100% confident. So the important thing to explain here is it's not saying that 100% of the text is written by AI. It's saying that based on the text, this AI tool is 100% confident that the text is AI generated, if that makes sense. So it's not saying that the entire thing is necessarily AI, but it's pretty confident that most of it's going to be AI. And when you go through this, you can put your mouse over these little highlighted sections, and it'll show you section by section the percentage of likely AI generated. So most of this is 100%. Some of this is like 71%, 61% down here, and so forth. But we don't want anything to be likely AI generated, of course, right? We want it to be under 50%, which would then flip this score to likely human generated content, right? If it's less than 50% likely AI, then it's going to flip over to green and it'll say likely human content. And that's ultimately what we want, of course. That'll decrease our chances of getting hit by a Google algorithm update. It'll make the text sound a lot more natural in most cases. And the nice thing about this tool is you can do a deep scan and it'll give you specific ideas for rewording these sentences. Now, I have found that on most of these, and especially once you start editing a few of these, you start to get the sense of what needs to be switched around and why it sounds like AI. But here, I'll give you a quick example. If we hit start deep scan, we run a deep scan here. Now we have this output over here, which is basically going to take us section by section. You can see the highlighted text there, and it's going to explain why it's labeling it as AI, more or less. And it's going to provide suggestions on how to fix it. Now, I did run a test where basically I took these suggestions verbatim and just put them in, and it didn't change the score really at all. So it's a little bit tricky what they're doing here. Like, they're giving you some suggestions, but they're still nudging you along to rewrite it from scratch, essentially, but just kind of take that input for what it's worth. So here we can see in this first section here, now this is going all the way down to this line here. And it's a little bit hard to follow, especially once you click out of it, you'll see that this closes up, which is kind of annoying. That's a UX thing that I wish they would fix, but it's all good. But yeah, you go through here and you just kind of read, like, replace cliches with specific actionable language and vary word choice. For example, swap, take your plumbing business to the next level. So this first line here, for reduce callbacks and win more local clients. Okay. Change, provide quality service to your customers to deliver reliable repairs and clear estimates. So here's what I'm going to do, because I think you kind of get the idea. Each of these sections, it gives you some suggested replacements. I'm just going to go through very quickly and spruce up some of these with, basically, I found that you have to rewrite them more or less. So for this one, like, you just start a new line, rewrite it, and then erase this one. And then once you're done, you rescan it, and you can keep checking your score as you go through. But I'm going to do that. Just take me just a few minutes, and then we'll jump back into this, and you can see what the results look like. Okay, just an update here. So I'm about maybe halfway, a little less than halfway through this thing. And you can see that the section by section scores are improving quite a bit. Now, my goal here is to get the majority of these to likely not AI generated. Now, it doesn't have to be every single section, but once you start getting the majority to likely not AI generated, then you're going to flip this entire score for the entire page. And that's really my goal, because right now it's still at 100, which is pretty nuts. But I think that's because all of this is at 100. So it's skewing it heavily in that direction. So this was all 100 also. So we changed all this, and now this is turning in a better direction. Now, the reason I'm using this tool is because it was recommended by Matt Woodward, because he said this is a really tough cookie when it comes to AI detection. And I like that. I think you should hold yourself to that high standard. It's only going to make your content better and less detectable. So I'm using this tool. It's one of the strictest. There's other tools where this probably would pass, but we're using one of the toughest on the market because we're trying to make our content better. So all I've been doing is just going through section by section and trying to fix some of these. Now, you start to get the sense of what is AI content, right? How AI content reads differently. Like, if you look here, you can see that these sections I changed are much more, they just sound human written, right? Like, your plumbers know what they're doing already, but maybe they need a little help with some of the SOP type stuff. Now, that could be overly casual, but I figured by saying SOP type stuff and those kind of phrasings, those aren't going to be picked up as AI, right? I mean, clearly that's a pretty humanized way of putting it. But then you look down here and it uses a lot of AI heavy language, right? So a lot of this kind of these long intros to sentences, like, by providing a clear framework to follow, comma, and then this long formalized sentence. And then up here we have implementing, which implementing just kind of sets bells off for AI for some reason. That's just a common AI word. Delve was another one. I saw that a few times. By implementing. So you see a lot of repetition here. You can put it together why it's being detected as AI. So I'll continue through this a little bit more, and we'll see if we can flip this score ultimately. And so we'll check back in here in just a minute. Okay, well, we finally finished this up, and I essentially had to rewrite all of these sections here, but the result is 96% confident that it is likely human written. And that is what we're going for here. You know, some of this stuff, again, I think the tone might be a little overly casual, but it got us to the outcome we wanted. And the interesting thing to note here is throughout most of this process, I kept rescanning it, and I was still getting the likely AI percentages for most of these sections. But as soon as I just finished the last section and I reran it, it now flipped the whole thing to 96% likely original, which is just fantastic. Haven't gotten a score that high yet. So really cool to see. But, you know, again, I think anyone who's doing website optimization, you really need to be wary of AI content. That's not to say AI is not useful. I personally use Claude. I have a bunch of Claude skills in place related to content, but typically it's around outlines, keyword research, topic ideation, you know, all that kind of thing. When it comes to actually writing the content, you really need to have a human writer / editor in place who can go in and fix these things up. Now, you could take this approach where you create the content basically using Claude or something, and then you hand it over to your editor and they just go through and basically more or less rewrite each section to get a decent score here. And that's a fair approach. But I think you have to do something like that to safeguard yourself, because with all these Google updates happening hot and heavy, it's getting very difficult to just push out AI slop. Essentially, you got to make sure that it's well edited like this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. The next video I'm going to be working on is actually showing what the new Claude version that's out, the Mythos, which is Fable 5 for us normal users. I'm going to take a piece of AI content and then rewrite it using Fable 5, because I want to see Fable 5 is supposed to be this really high-end LLM model, the highest of the highest end. And I don't doubt that it is, but I want to see if it can pass this AI detection tool by itself, because if it did, I mean, that would be next level. But I think also the AI detectors are going to get more and more advanced as well. So it's sort of like an arms race back and forth. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this content. A little different type of video than I usually do. It's usually just AI news type updates, but I think this is valuable. I saw that article from Matt Woodward, and I thought it'd be good to make a video on it. So I'll also leave a link for this tool, Originality.ai. Again, it comes highly recommended from very well-respected people in the search marketing space for AI detection. It's very strict, which is good. You want it to be strict, but it detects everything, and it gives you a good breakdown on how to fix it as well. So anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.